Today's session will be led by Laura Albert and David Graff. Laura is the Head of Solution Marketing for SAP SuccessFactors HCM Suite, and David is the Senior Director of Pre-Sales for SAP Qualtrics. Laura, the floor is yours.
Thanks so much, Jesse. Happy to be here today, and I know David is as well, so let's jump right in. You know, I think we'd all agree that the experience economy has really changed everything. Think about the last time you went to a new city. You know, did you just walk into a restaurant, or instead, did you open up Yelp or TripAdvisor or The Fork or some other local app and check the ratings and reviews? You know, organizations like yours today are facing massive changes in the experience economy, and if you look at some of these statistics, they really are staggering. First of all, if you look at average tenure, dramatically declined in recent years, going from 15 years to, just 4 years. And millennials, particularly, are only staying on average of about 2.8 years. In addition, 70% of millennials say that they will quit a job due to poor technology experiences, so creating much more demand from an organization standpoint on how to meet expectations. And then lastly, a statistic from the U.S. Shows that 2 million employees quit every single month, citing negative workplace experiences. So the question is, how do organizations today really compete? And how do you understand those key drivers that will keep your employees happy? And more importantly, do you even know as an organization what's really making people leave? If you think about the cost associated with, recruiting and training employees, as well as, the time that it takes to do that, we start to realize that this isn't just an HR problem. This is a huge business issue. In today's experience economy, employees, I think we'd all say, they're in the driver's seat. It takes just a matter of seconds to go online and for an employee to determine, what companies out there are delivering great experiences and which ones really aren't. And yet, at the same time, there's this significant gap between what a lot of employers think is happening and what's actually happening. So if you talk to CEOs or business leaders today, a lot of them will say, hey, look, we're delivering a superior employee experience. Employees are satisfied with, comp and benefits. They are likely to recommend the company as a great place to work. They're highly engaged. The reality, though, is that in most cases there's a significant gap, and we call that the experience gap. And the reason that's so critical is that it leads to a whole bunch of negative things, whether it's low employee morale, whether it's poor collaboration across teams, could be failure to innovate, and certainly employee attrition. So to close this experience gap, what do organizations have to do? Well, I think it's critical that companies today continuously listen and improve the employee experience, not just at a single moment in time or not just with regard to a single event in an employee's life, but really along every single moment that matters across that entire employee journey. And so to do this, organizations need the right technology that can integrate every piece of data they have along that entire employee life cycle. And so most organizations today, you have more data than ever, right? Think about all of the rich operational data or transactional HR data that's available that tells you, down to the number, how long it's taking for new hires to reach full productivity, what % of training is completed, which employees are leaving, even down to which employees are leaving by gender, by geography, by a department, and so forth. But what we've heard for years is that, companies will say, we know what's happening with our workforce, but we don't know why. And that's the real power of experience data. Think of it as, the human factor data, where you can start to understand the beliefs, the emotions, the intentions that influence things like employees leaving the organization, that influence candidates accepting or rejecting offers, that influence the effectiveness of new hire training and development. And so, when you think about X data and really how powerful that can be in terms of telling you why certain things are happening, that really complements understanding what's happening, right? So organizations now, really, if they want to be able to manage and continually improve the employee experience, you can't really do that unless you can truly integrate the what with the why. And so let's just give a quick, high-level example. If you think about, operational data can tell you something as specific as who your highest performing sales rep is. But what experience data can tell you is when they're going to leave the company, right? Or what are their key drivers of dissatisfaction. And so with that information, you're in a much better position to do something about it and prevent a high-performing sales rep from leaving before it actually happens. And it's the integration of this data and really that holistic view that helps to eliminate those blind spots, right? So that as an organization, you can start to see those leading indicators before they have drastic impact on your business. So things like, what is happening with the company culture? Are employees engaged? Are employees being fulfilled with their work and things of that nature? So here's a visual that shows you just how incredible the combination of SAP and Qualtrics is. This partnership finally provides organizations like yours with an end-to-end employee experience management platform. And what's unique about that platform is that it combines OData and Xdata, really allowing an organization to do three key things. One, listen to employees. Two, understand what to do and the impact of those actions. And then three, take action, right, on those specific things that are going to help a company close experience gaps and really drive breakthrough outcomes at the key moments across the employee journey that matter. And so now I'd like to just talk briefly about three new employee experience management solutions that are available from SAP and powered by Qualtrics. And this is going to lead into the solution demo that David will drive. So employee engagement. This is all about empowering HR leaders as well as managers with real-time engagement insights as well as action planning tips to address specific problems, whether that's once a year, whether that's quarterly, could be even monthly. Employee life cycle, which is aimed at helping organizations determine what's really working and what needs improvement at all of those key moments across the employee life cycle. And then third, Employee Benefits Optimizer, which is a unique solution that helps organizations determine what is the optimal total rewards offerings for all of my different employees, and how do those preferences change over time. And the way we allow organizations to look at that is by using a conjoint analysis. So with that, David, I'm going to turn it over to you to walk through a solution demo.
Sounds great. Let me go ahead and share my screen and we'll hop right into technology. So what you're going to be seeing here, and it should be loading any second now, is just a quick overview just so everyone can get on the same page. Now, really when you think about what Qualtrics employee experience management does for you, it allows you to collect, analyze, and act on the experience data we collect from our employee base. When you boil it down, Qualtrics helps organizations to capture data across the entire employee lifecycle at all of the moments that matter most. So when we think about collecting the data, we at Qualtrics have teams of engineers who are solely focused on products for employee experience and have built distinct solutions to run a census engagement project, employee pulses on a quarterly basis to fill in the gaps between the annual engagement, automated lifecycle touch points, multi-rater feedback programs, sometimes called 180s or 360s, and even ad hoc or always on, always listening feedback, like a digital open door. We're only focusing on engagement and lifecycle today, but it's important to know that you're not going to outgrow Qualtrics and that you'll be able to scale and expand your employee listening and feedback program outside of those areas of analysis in our online role-based dashboards. So you no longer have to wait weeks with some more traditional providers for the survey data to be analyzed and aggregated and closed to see results, but they'll be immediately available for you and your administrator group, as well as any managers or other employees that would benefit from this data. And then finally, acting on the data. We don't want to just be a system of insights. We want to be a system of action. And so collecting and analyzing is nice, but the action planning is where the program really becomes valuable. So Qualtrics actually can present key prescriptive and predictive insights to every leader in the organization, so they'll know exactly what to take actions on with suggestions and guided action steps where they can add these right into the performance and goals of SuccessFactors to track off progress. So that's going to serve as the layout for today's demonstration. Let's hop into the technology. Now, when you think about taking one of these surveys, there's a variety of ways we can do this. We can get these in the hands of our employees via email, via kiosks that are set up in central locations, as well as via on-demand access like SMS or hyperlinks posted on company intranets. And when they open that survey link, what you're going to see is that it automatically responds to the device size and type, as shown here in this preview. Typically speaking, these surveys consist of a variety of quantitative and qualitative questions, meaning scale point questions like you're seeing here, as well as open-ended text entry to get the granular details. And it's easy to take these, whether you're on desktop or mobile, with them automatically formatting and using things like our patented accordion-style matrix table so that people can give their feedback without taking up a ton of their day, which helps to boost response rates and give you a better perspective on the entire employee base. Now, you should know that we don't expect that everybody is going to be an expert in how to set up these programs. There are degrees like IO psychology that go into detail on how to get the best type of data for these programs. And that's why we've hired on some of the world's foremost PhD methodologists and IO psychologists that not only can consult our customers on a one-on-one basis, but have also baked in their expertise into guided workflows, like you see here for engagement or onboarding and exit lifecycle touchpoints, as well as a variety of other quick start templates. And you should know that there's complete configurability within the design tool to ask the questions that you need. You can start with the templated questions and add your own, pick and choose which questions from the template you want to leave in based on your organization's needs, or import from a library of common question types that Qualtrics gives you access to, most of which, hundreds of which, are automatically linked to a world norms benchmarking system where companies can compare the results of their particular survey to those of other similar industries or regional breakdowns. Now, when you think about distributing these surveys to an organization, it's important to understand how the data comes in is arranged into a hierarchy. With Qualtrics, we can automatically link up to your company hierarchy via an integration to the SuccessFactors tool, or even uploading a list of participants into the tool with a simple click of a button. And what that will let us do is actually arrange automatically not only one, but multiple different hierarchical representations, for instance, geographic versus departmental. And at any point in time, we can rearrange this in the tool to combine small groups into larger groups or create a grouping from scratch. Caterpillar is a major global brand of heavy equipment, and their previous provider required that their organizational hierarchy be locked in place for 3 weeks prior to survey launch after taking months to construct and validate it. And they weren't allowed to make any changes after survey launch, which presented problems as their large hierarchy rapidly changed. So when they moved on to Qualtrics, we were able to build them out 2 different organizational hierarchies in less than a day using this tool. And the technology still allowed them to make changes even after survey results were collected. So this tends to be a dramatic game changer for organizations. So once we've got the hierarchy set up how we like it, and we have collected survey responses from our employees, all of that will be rolling into these real-time role-based dashboards. Now, these are 100% real-time and configurable, meaning everything you see here is simply a widget that can be arranged and rearranged to each company's needs. Or they can lean on the exact template as it comes out from our best practices, or somewhere in between. Typically speaking, if you're talking about an administrative or HR BP viewer, like I'm showing here, they're going to get a lot of detail in order to understand the employee experience. we'll see that that hierarchy we set up previously is automatically linked up here. And when Joel Doe logs in, he's able to see data coming from the entire hierarchy of teams beneath him. And you can access, if you have multiple hierarchies, the various different setups that we created previously as well. This scorecard represents the engagement results from this year's survey, and yet allows us to compare to last year's particular engagement results, or even to those world-known benchmarks that I mentioned previously. And this is pretty typical of what you see historically with an engagement results. A simple distribution of highs and lows, where we're weak and where we're strong, with the ability to drill down to key areas that make up that parent category. But just focusing on the lows for improvement doesn't necessarily mean you're focusing on high impact areas. And so that's where Qualtrics' IQ Suite comes into play. The IQ Suite takes your quantitative and qualitative questions and helps to drill down to specific insights for each viewer. One of the ways we do that is with a key driver analysis. In this key driver analysis, we actually look at all of the metrics that we track in this survey, the various sentiments, thoughts, and feelings coming back from our employee base, and we analyze them based on both performance and statistical impact to identify high-quality opportunity areas. We can even stack rank those into a simple-to-view, top-to-bottom priority sorted list. So we can see that for this organization, for Joel Doe, having good opportunities for career progression is actually the #1 area of opportunity as rated by the IQ Suite. So this is already leaps and bounds ahead of just looking at simple scores, where this actually is not the lowest scoring area, but it's been deemed to be the best combination of performance and statistical impact. And we've pointed ourselves into a direction that can help to improve engagement, sort of our North Star, but it doesn't stop there. Looking at our qualitative data, the text, the verbatims, the comments coming back in from the employee base, we can drill in much deeper. So what you should know is that Qualtrics is constantly taking your qualitative data and using Text IQ, which is a machine learning-based natural language processing engine. It can understand what people are talking about, the general buckets or categories of conversation within those comments, and how they're talking about it, the sentiment, the feeling, the emotions. So we know that in this case, 43% of our comments that mention career progression are talking negatively about it, whereas 35% of those comments are actually speaking positively about it. That's the power and the breakout of sentiment analysis combined with topic analysis. What does this mean for us, though? Well, what it means is really two things. One, we can quantify our previously unquantified text data and perform a root cause analysis to see what people are talking about most, or what people are talking about most negatively in order to identify improvement areas. Or in this case, since we already used a statistical analysis to identify the highest impact area, which was opening up conversations for career progression, I can actually use this to increase the accessibility of the text data as well, which means I can come into these filters and say, just show me the results from people that were talking about career progression in a negative manner. And if I scroll down, you're going to see that we have a live word cloud that updates to show the most frequent specific words, not the general categories, but the specific words being used. And we can actually look at the raw comments that are being tagged as career progression negative. If I want to take one of these specific words and cut in a level deeper, I can actually do that just by typing that into the search bar here. And it's going to slice deeper and highlight the particular word that I'm looking for, allow me to get to the granular details and understand what's going on. And in this case, for this organization, if we read through these with just a few minutes of time, we can quickly understand that people are upset about the ability to have that open dialogue with their managers about promotion and progression, which is causing frustration, leading to lower scores on that question in the survey, and ultimately lower scores in engagement, which is detrimental to both productivity and retention. So this is, again, sort of a view that we would see as a typical administrator or very high-level executive or HRBP. But we also want to let every manager have actionable insights into the data that they're collecting here. So that means that we can have tailored views that are simple, to the point, and actionable for those managers. Here's an example view that a manager might see from a recent engagement survey. We take that same quadrant analysis that we saw, all the dots and the opportunity areas in red, and we actually just stack rank that once again for these managers from left to right. And for this manager, what we're seeing is that empowering employees to shape their role, that's the item on this survey that's being rated as the #1 opportunity area when analyzed for performance and impact. As a manager, I can say, I want to go improve that. I can get a little bit more detail. Employees who have more control over how they do their work tend to be more engaged, and this should be one of the primary ways that you influence engagement levels. I can even go into the customized action plans to get some more detailed suggestions. So here are some of the suggested actions. Qualtrics can provide standard content to fill these spots. Each customer can add their own to it, or it can be a combination of the two. And what we're seeing here is various suggested actions that have been proven to increase the engagement by working on that particular driver of focus. This is a great opportunity to take a personalized suggested recommendation and go and add that into our performance and goals and success factors. For example, to encourage more dynamic goal setting, facilitate frequent one-on-ones, or ongoing coaching and feedback, leveraging the solution's continuous performance management capabilities. So we've just talked about how an annual engagement survey can be viewed by both administrators and executives as well as individual managers to improve the employee experience. And that scaffolding of the IQ suite and suggested actions is what empowers us to improve any piece of the employee journey. We can supplement those annual engagement surveys, which tend to be lengthier and more complete, with quick pulses, allowing managers on a quarterly or semi-yearly basis to get insights into not only the annual engagement that came out previously, but a quick check-in to understand how things have been improving since then. And it's the same underlying technology on a simpler scale. Once again, we have the ability to view the engagement from that pulse, to view trending indices on some of the key metrics that we're tracking, like autonomy and empowerment ratings, engagement, communication, and get particular recommendations or prescriptive recommendations on how to make improvements in the interim time until we have that next annual engagement. So it's all about continual evolution and improvement of our employee experience. So beyond just the general check-in and diagnostic power of an engagement and pulse combination, there are also key moments that matter within the employee life cycle. You can think of this as new hire onboarding, or maybe employees returning from parental leave, or employees that were recently promoted, or employees that recently exited the company with a quick exit study to understand and reduce those drivers of churn. Today, we're going to focus on onboarding. So Qualtrics employee onboarding feedback programs are designed for you to capture ongoing insights from new employees on an always-on basis, so that you can ensure faster onboarding and productivity, as well as higher engagement for new employees. The beauty behind our products is that you can set up the automation and your data will flow into the dashboard on an ongoing basis with no manual work required to understand whether your employees have the training they need, or if their managers are enabling them with the resources they need, or any other aspect of experience you know will drive better employee experience. So very similar to the engagement setup that we saw previously, the onboarding survey will have its own participants management. This will have one key difference, though. We can automatically set triggers linked to the HRIS system that allow us to say, send this survey to anybody who is 30 days after the hire date. And therefore, we don't have to send out each individual onboarding survey on demand with a push of a button. It's just linked to our system, and the results will flow in to a dashboard like this. Now, if you've understood the previous dashboard examples of the employee engagement for admins and HR business partners or the manager views, it's the same framework that you're going to see here, but specifically designed to help onboarding leaders or training and development teams improve the onboarding experience. In this case, we're not only tracking overall employee engagement, but we're actually tracking that alongside the onboarding experience index. And we can look at both of those metrics by team or for the overall company. And we see here that engineering is actually a lagging team in terms of their onboarding experience, which may indicate that there's an issue with the onboarding of new engineers. I can actually filter down my analysis by that team so that all of my further insights are just focused on that particular problem area. Like the last time, we do have the IQ Suite built right into this tool, so I can come in to the key driver analysis for engineering specifically, and that's going to let me understand what are the key areas of opportunity that will help us drive up onboarding experience and thus start off with highly engaged new employees. And we see here that career conversations with managers are actually the #1 opportunity area for improving onboarding experience, having those useful conversations early on in someone's new career. And once again, we can go to text analytics in order to understand the particular comments around those conversations, whether that be a combination of career progression, management, or communication. We're going to have the ability to quickly dive into the details and get the granular, nitty-gritty information we need in order to understand and improve the onboarding experience. That's the scaffolding that allows Qualtrics for any piece of the employee experience puzzle to constantly understand and improve employee experience.